I've always been a bit leery about elevators. Voluntarily trapping myself into a box that is suspended by cables, and if they break, it sends you careening to your death. Here are a few examples to solidify my disdain. Enjoy. In 1945, Betty Lou Oliver was working as an elevator operator at the Empire State Building. On July 28th of that year, a plane flew into the building, leaving her with serious burns. Unfortunately, her ordeal wasn't over. To get to safety, she was put on an elevator to descend the 75 stories between herself and the ground. Midway down, the elevator cables snapped, and her car hurtled toward the hard floor of the basement. She survived because the snapped cables landed beneath the elevator, creating a kind of spring to soften her drop. As of 2018, she holds the Guinness World Record for the longest elevator fall ever survived. In 2011, a fired handyman got revenge on his former employer by turning an elevator into a death trap. Jerome Isaac was hired by Dolores Gillespie to do odd jobs around her Prospect Heights, New York apartment. But when Gillespie caught him taking her stuff, she quickly let him go. Apparently, Isaac wanted revenge and decided to use an elevator as a key part of his plot. One day, Isaac ambushed Gillespie in her building's elevator, drenching her in a flammable material, and then lighting her on fire. After setting Gillespie ablaze, Isaac threw more accelerant on her to make sure the job was done. She did not survive the ordeal, and authorities later caught Isaac and charged him for the slaying. One of the scariest things to contemplate while you're in an elevator is, what if the doors never open? Sadly, a woman in China succumbed to this exact very thing. In March of 2016, a 43-year-old woman was found lifeless in an elevator in China. Her body was discovered months after the elevator had gotten stuck between floors on January 30th. Technicians allegedly yelled down the shaft to see if anyone was inside the car. After they got no response, they turned the electricity off, unaware a person was indeed inside. When they returned to fix the machine on March 1st, they found her remains. I know you've heard a lot about the Elisa Lam case, because it's become something of an urban legend. Her passing inspired a plotline for American Horror Story, and there is interest in a film about her. In 2013, Lam's body turned up clothless in a water tank on top of a seedy LA hotel. While that is mysterious enough, the creepy part comes from the elevator security camera footage captured the night she passed. The video that had went viral on YouTube shows her descending into a kind of mania. She gets into the elevator, looks closely at the buttons, then hides in the corner. Afterward, she jumps out of the machine and acts like someone is after her. Illicit substances were ruled out after a test performed during her autopsy came back negative. While specialists determined she had a bipolar disorder, they concluded it was not the main cause of her demise. Some had speculated that she was possessed. Others, it was the haunting that caused her to meet her end. An 85-year-old nun got stuck in an elevator for multiple days. One fateful night in 2011, Sister Mary Geary was alone in her Baltimore convent. Her sisters off attending a convention. So when the convent's elevator was stuck, there was no one to hear her cry for help. Sister Geary survived the ordeal, though it took 4 days for help to arrive. After realizing her cell phone had no service, she decided to ask God for assistance, and it seemed her prayers were answered. Thankfully, she also had celery sticks, cough drops, and a container of water, so she wasn't completely without food during the ordeal. This one sounds like a scene from Final Destination. Elevator doors often seem to close without warning. Despite modern safety sensors, it's easy to imagine a rogue set of doors causing harm, or even someone's demise. Unfortunately, what happened to Dr. Nakito sounds like a worst-case scenario. In 2003, one of Dr. Nakito's colleagues held a departing elevator for him. The contraption was known to have mechanical problems, but no out-of-order sign was present that day. As he was walking into the elevator, the door suddenly shut, trapping him between the hallway and the elevator interior. When the elevator started lurching upward, there was little Dr. Nakito could do but wait. It decapitated him, then suffered a mechanical breakdown and stalled between floors. The elevator passenger was trapped with his severed head for over an hour until he was rescued. Elevators are a modern necessity. Without them, people will be stuck climbing hundreds of steps to reach the highest floors of the tallest buildings. And while people put their trust in the contraptions every day, this shouldn't obscure their inherent risks. In 2005, a delivery driver for a Chinese restaurant in New York got stuck for 3 days in the elevator of a 38-story building. When he didn't come home, his coworkers called the police, who spent several days searching everywhere except the elevator. Unfortunately, he had already delivered the order, so he had to wait until he was rescued to obtain sustenance. He thankfully survived the ordeal and needed to be treated for dehydration. Ed Bradley, a normal, unassuming elevator mechanic, was the victim of elevator horror at his job in Manhattan. In 2012, he was doing routine maintenance on an elevator electrical system when he was electrocuted. By the time help arrived, he had suffered a cardiac episode and was never revived. Sometimes famous people get trapped in elevators too. Elevators have no concept of celebrity. When an elevator decides to break down, it doesn't matter if the rider is an average Joe or the Queen of England. After attending the premiere of a 2010 film, actors Josh Charles and Alessandro Nivola boarded an ill-fated elevator with a large group of moviegoers. And just before things went wrong, someone said, "This is overloaded. We might die tonight." A malfunction did cause the elevator to free fall 4 stories before getting stuck. Luckily, the riders were not doomed, as rescuers quickly saved them. Let me know in the comment section if you like these stories too. I personally avoid elevators at all costs. If you have a story you'd like to see featured here, please email me at duchessdark676@gmail.com. A special thank you to my Patreon patrons: Howard RHOLETTER, Laura LAABS, Psych CU, Minister ELENA C. Henderson, Jen Parsons. Thanks for watching and see you next time.